We're dead, Geordi.
Is that some kind of a joke?
Our patterns were lost in a transporter malfunction. We never rematerialized after leaving the Romulan ship.
Wait a minute. What are you saying? That we're some sort of spirits?
Spirits? Souls? My people used to call them Borjas. Whatever term you want to use, we're it.
But my uniform, my visor. Are you saying I'm some blind ghost with clothes?
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional TNG Podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are veteran Trekkies, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today we're talking about the Season 5 episode, The Next Phase. Original air date, May 16th, 1992. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so we start out. The Enterprise is going to help a Romulan vessel. Oh my goodness.
Scandalous.
And then there's also somebody else at Worf's desk. And I was like, who are you? Oh, his name is McDowell. But
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that guy,
cares.
I was like, hey, this dude looks like that guy from that episode where those aliens made everyone lose their
Oh.
memories.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's the same actor, but they look very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Ro and Geordi are transporting down to the Romulan ship. They can't bring any weapons. Oh, they're going down with Riker and Worf also. No weapons. Ro is in a red headband.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite. It reminds me of her haircut in this reminds me of a Vine.
I do find it funny that the red headband is clearly some sort of standard issue, considering that it matches her outfit.
Yeah, it's the same red.
Listen,
Does that mean that there's a mustard yellow one as well, and like a teal blue?
listen, I love the idea that Starfleet has accessories to match the outfit. I like that. It's like a company store.
Yeah.
I like it.
Ship stores will have it.
Yeah. The mall. So Geordi says says the thing set up is weird and it can't be fixed, must be replaced. Maybe it's the engine core. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
remember.
Yeah.
something to do with the engine core. There's a bunch of tech in that part of it.
Yeah. So we meet Science Officer Mirok, and he's like, the captain is dead. I'm like, okay. So they go to... Okay, so I just wrote, went to take the equipment to the Enterprise to replicate it as the Romulans is broken. Okay. So we have somebody named Brosmer at the transporter desk thing.
Yep.
Where wow, O'Brien has been on vacation for a while, really slacking.
I think at this point, don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly certain that at this point in them recording the show, they were getting ready to put out DS9, which, Dory, as you've probably heard, O'Brien is a main character on that. So I think they were just kind of busy with getting that set up, so they did not include him much in TNG at this point.
Sure. So Geordi and Ro, they bring the equipment. They're trying to bring the equipment back to the Enterprise. But then on the platform, in the transporter room, it flashes and then they switch spots. And I wrote if this is a body swap, I'm going to just lose my mind. I hate a body swap. I don't.
Oh, you don't
I don't
like body
that.
swap?
Don't worry,
No.
Dory, there are no body swaps in Star Trek until Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, there's certain tropes that I don't care for. And to me, body swaps are always so cringy.
Yes, they
So-
definitely are.
I don't like them very much. Okay, so Brosmer, she can't hold them, and she's trying to send them back to the Romulan ship, but they don't go back to the Romulan ship. they're gone. So they can't find them. And Riker needs more people. So Picard sends Data and others in a shuttle because they don't want to risk the transporter at the moment.
I wonder why.
Yeah, so there's 73 Romulans still alive. And like in total or in like another area of the ship. It's unclear. Meh. And the female Romulan is like surprised to hear 73, and I'm like, why?
Because she
Yeah.
thought that less of them were.
These people are already feeling sketchy.
They're Romulans.
Yeah. So alarm sounds. Oh, pressure has jumped 200 millicols.
Yeah, they made up some sciencey terms from another
Yeah.
species.
Yeah. They've lost control of the containment chamber. It's going to implode. Riker says they need to dump the entire engine core, but they can't do it automatically. So the like auto eject system is not working. So they have to do it manually. I thought this was going to be way more dramatic. It was not. I thought they were going to have to I thought this guy was like going to sacrifice himself to do a thing.
Yeah.
Or I thought it truly was nothing. It was the guy in Worf literally just like pull a lever and then close a door that Data needs to like help.
I love when they're lifting that thing to close the door, and he's like, Commander Riker. And, Riker has to go over there and help, and it looks like Riker just like puts one lift into it with his back and just does all of the hard work. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though like all three of them are lifting it.
Yeah, strongman
But, like-
Riker to the rescue.
I just had a comment about like when they're pulling the levers, and it's like the manual like override or whatever the fuck it is. Worf just like yanks it, but the Romulan guy's like carefully like turning it.
Yes, I recall that.
And that whole
Yeah.
setup, like especially like the expression the actor has on his face, it seems like they're setting up that like either the Romulan's gonna be really brave or really cowardly. Like
Yes.
he's gonna leave Worf to die or some shit, but no, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Also,
drama.
listen, here's the thing. They gave me a time challenge.
Uh-oh.
They said that the ship was going to implode in 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That is false. The ship would have actually like imploded like by the time they like finish with everything.
Yeah.
It was 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Ah.
Oh, well then. That's pretty
So-
close though.
I mean, 5 to 17, that's like a big chunk of time to me for this kind of thing. 10, 12 seconds makes a difference.
I mean, in real life, yes. But for a TV show, especially one that is, like, very loose with its timing,
Yes.
Oh,
that's
yes.
not
Don't I
that
know
bad.
it? Yeah. So, oh, okay. So I basically was timed until Riker waits to like the absolute last possible second to like shoot out the containment chamber.
Yeah,
so
I
that's
like
where
when
I
they
stopped.
I like when they give them the 5-second warning and Riker just pauses and he's like, "Now."
Yeah.
So Riker, so now that's out, they need to like help fix shit. So Riker is going to help the Romulans set up so they can, carry on whatever the fuck they were doing. So Picard heads to sickbay and passes Ro on the floor in the hallway, and she gets up and she like tries to like call out to him.
But
But
no, she
like,
doesn't call out to him.
Oh, so not to him. She just like gets. Oh, sorry. Right. He passes by. We see her on the floor. She gets up, and she tries to call the bridge, and there's no answer. And she just like starts to walk through. She tries to walk through a doorway, but the door won't open. She has to like wait for someone else to open it.
See, the door won't open
So-
because she sold her soul to Millhouse.
So Ro tries to ask for help from multiple people in like sickbay, but nobody hears her. And I wrote, Ro and her headband listen in on Picard and Dr. C talking about what could have happened to Ro and Geordi. So Picard said that there was like a radiation surge from the Romulan engine core, which disrupted the signal. And Dr. C's like, is there anything else we can frickin' do? Because she hates writing death certificates. I'm like, that's fair. I love that Dr. C is always like the last person to be like, can we do anything else? Is like literally we she does not want to ever give up. Which
Yeah.
I love with Dr. C. So Ro is like not freaking out per se, but getting distressed, and she's like trying to talk to Picard, and Picard then walks right through her, and then I was like, a ghost? What is happening? I didn't actually think she was dead. Because again, I know that because Geordi was in the same situation, and Geordi is on my season 7 tray, so I know that Geordi's not dead.
Okay, wait, Dory. I need to point something out, okay?
Yeah.
This isn't a spoiler because hope to God we never watch Voyager. But if you do, I hope you forget about this. Please file it in your mind to forget about. There's a character named Harry Kim on Voyager. And Kim, at one point, just dies. He, like, flat out is dead. No coming back from the grave. Harry Kim is dead.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a main character. And the episode deals with some weird alternate reality shenanigans. And so they bring Harry Kim in from the alternate reality, and it's just alternate Harry Kim for the rest of the season, and for the rest of the show, and it's only acknowledged once.
Yeah.
Wild.
I
That's
forgot about
silly.
that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, at one point, there's like an alternate reality episode, and then they combine the crews of like the first reality and the second reality.
Yeah.
And
'cause the ship
Harry Kim
like,
is
blowing
just
up.
straight up fucking dead. Like
Yep.
from the first reality.
Wild. Ugh.
Also, that character gets so much disrespect in general.
Very true, yes.
Okay, so Ro realizes she's a ghost. And they really just, that's the thing, is like they really do call it like after like they like write their like the death certificate, and like but they haven't, I feel like they haven't done enough research into like I feel like they're just like, well, like they've looked into things with a lot less like evidence
Yeah.
for longer, and so it feels like they gave up very quickly in trying to figure out what happened.
So you're not wrong. They do give up pretty quickly. I noticed that too. The episode isn't really... I don't think it does a good job acknowledging that two pretty main characters have died.
Yeah.
I was like, how are people not fucking losing their mind right now? Like, the only reason I was like fine is because I knew I was like, Geordi's fine, I know for sure, so there's no way they're gonna kill off Ro.
It's kind of a callback to when Yar died, and they just kind of forgot about her until the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta let their people mourn a little bit. Because I would have thought, like, also someone as major as Geordi, the fucking head of engineering, that, like, if something happened, people would, like, be visibly even... Listen, I know they're, like, basically a military organization, but, like, they're human beings. Or
Yeah.
these are also not just human beings. Like, you know, there's different, like, species on this ship. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, people are going to have emotions towards the fact, like, I mean, I don't know. Geordi, at the very least, is fucking popular. Let's face it.
Yes.
Geordi's got a lot of friends. People should like. For me, I love Ro. Doesn't seem like she was a particularly like, you know, overwhelmed with a lot of friends, but I thought, like, you know, she had some kind of rapport with Troy by the end of the like her and Riker episode. That one where they lose memories or something.
Yes, they do.
So like I would have thought there'd be like more of a reaction other than, well, back to work.
Yeah. It's because the episode really isn't about them being dead.
I know, but they don't know that, like,
Yeah.
that they're
like,
not dead.
And because what I was going to say is, like, I totally get that they didn't want the episode to be about that, but, like, it is pretty noticeable, like, that people don't seem to be, like, as sad or as affected as one would expect. Especially when
Yeah.
when they've had, like, when there's been a bigger impact on smaller characters dying.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've got some thoughts about shit later. And don't get me wrong, I actually really like this episode. I really like Geordi and Ro together doing shit. They were really fun. But yeah, I still have some issues.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. So the Enterprise is transferring power to the Romulan ship. So then they can like be sustainable enough to leave. Data wants to look into like some stuff regarding Transporter Room 3. Data, he's like, Geordi is my best friend, and he wants to plan a memorial service. And Worf tells Picard that the Romulans want a computer. Oh no, Worf tells Riker that the Romulans want a computer, which is unacceptable, which is an unacceptable security risk.
Which
but Worf
he's
would be
right.
very cool with them
Yeah.
having a computer from 30 to 40 years ago. That's fine.
Well, yeah, because they already have the info on
that's
that.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Geordi, okay. Geordi is spawned in engineering, of course. So it turns out he didn't. He actually woke up in the Arboretum, but we first see him in engineering.
But they didn't want to open up the Arboretum set, so, I get
Yeah.
it.
That's fair.
I mean, they didn't have to make it the Arboretum.
Yeah, they could have just had him wake up in engineering.
Yeah.
It's fine. So then Geordi, oh my god, the Geordi and Ro combined name is just Go.
Rorty.
Are you sure it wouldn't be Joe?
Yeah, Joe. They're actually very psyched to see each other now that like they're not alone, which is nice because they don't have to like. They have people to like. They have two smart people that they can bounce ideas of like back and forth with, which is great. Mm-hmm. So they also touch hands to make sure to see if they actually go through each other. Mm-hmm. They don't. They're solid enough for each other, which okay. So Ro then breaks the news that they're dead, and Geordi's reaction is truly an incredible source of logic.
It's a lot of lol no.
He goes, but my uniform, my visor. Are you saying I'm some blind ghost with clothes? I'm like, Geordi, that's what you got from that? Is it you're a blind ghost with clothes?
Yeah.
What? I don't get that.
Also,
What a
ghosts
wild
like usually do
response.
have clothes,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah, but they don't usually have, like computers strapped to their head to help them see.
yeah,
Yeah. Ro does respond, I don't have all the answers. I've never been dead before. So Ro thinks that they need to make peace with their lives, but Geordi's like, oh, hard pass.
Yeah.
I very much refuse to be dead. I got shit to do. So Data is speaking with Brosmer, and he thinks that the explosion on the Romulan ship damaged the Romulan cloaking device, causing it to discharge chronoton particles. I'm
Yeah.
also reading basically what they said.
I really hate that they say chronoton particles because they kind of they kind of use that throughout Star Trek as like time atoms basically.
yeah, because it's like chrono, like very similar, and those usually refer to time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically like cloak particles
Yeah.
is what they mean.
Yeah, so Data is detecting the chronoton field in Transporter Room 3. Traveled through the transporter beam. Chronotons are not dangerous to humans, but not great for the ship's systems. So, okay, I did make a note. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll talk about this later. I am confused about the rules of their
What they can
Ro and
pass
Geordi's
through.
rules. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, don't be
okay.
confused. It's inconsistent because they're not falling through the floor.
That's
Yeah.
what I wrote. I'm like,
Yeah.
how come they can pass through walls and people, but
Here-
they don't fall through the floor?
here's the thing. That's sort of a problem with any sort of like ghost thing. Like they're not ghosts in this, but like they may as well be. Like,
Because there's something in this that doesn't make sense for
Yeah.
another bit.
Well,
So,
also
okay,
Yeah,
she
no,
walks onto the bridge and like touches the console,
yeah.
yeah,
and it's
And
like
it-
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up later, but just because you brought it up now, I don't see. I'm okay with it being inconsistent, like, maybe she's like walking past something and touches it or whatever, and it's like, okay, it's hard to keep that up where it's
Yes.
like, oh, you pass through stuff, you can't fall through the floor because like they have to be able to walk on the ship, right? And that's just like any kind of ghost thing where they can pass through stuff, it's like that's always a problem where it's like, I guess the floor is ghost proof or whatever.
Well, I think like in most things, ghosts usually can fly.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
like ceilings are not necessarily
Yeah.
like are much of a thought, but in this case they're just like walking. But because then for a second I was like, oh, maybe it depends on like the thickness of the material. But then that bitch goes through the fucking wall of the Enterprise,
Yeah.
so logic is gone.
Yeah, so the specific problem I have is you're making it a very prominent part of the story and plot that they can pass through stuff and that they can't really touch things. Yet you purposely put in a close-up of her touching something and not passing through it.
Yep.
That's
I have a
so
big
fucking
problem with that
stupid.
too.
Like, here's the like, I'm willing to forgive a lot, but like it's a very important part of the episode that they can pass through stuff and like can't physically touch anything, and you have a close up of her physically touching something. Ugh.
The logic is not logicking.
Yeah. Super annoying.
Yeah. Okay, so Ro then goes up to the bridge so she touches her shit and it like stays solid. So
Yeah.
cool, makes sense. So she follows Riker and Picard. Also, okay, when she goes up on the bridge, there is not a single person I recognize on that bridge. And she stands at the front to do like as if she's doing a presentation. She's like, goodbye or whatever. And I'm like, who are all these bitches? We don't know these people. Who are all these randos?
I think she was
And then
saying goodbye to the bridge in general and not like those people.
Yeah, but still, I was like, who are all these people? We don't know any of these people. But then Picard and Riker come up, and she follows them into Picard's ready room. And Picard tells Riker about the memorial. And he's like, oh, so we learned that Riker has known Geordi the longest, apparently. And he's like, oh, you want to, like, maybe you... And then Riker's like, oh, I'd like to say a few things. And then, and they're like, oh, about Geordi? And he's like, about Ro. And then she's like, what? Me? She goes, wait a minute, what are you gonna say about me? And then she's like, then she goes, I don't believe this, I'm dead, you can't even hear me, and I'm still... Oh, she says that to Picard, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so she's very focused, and I think that's like honestly one of the funniest bits of this episode is that she's like, what the fuck is Riker gonna say about me?
Yeah.
What?
It is
What?
interesting that the episode is spending so much time focusing on who is essentially a side character.
I love it. I will take
Yeah.
more of
me
Ro
too.
any day.
Me too. It's
I
just
love it.
surprising that they spend that much time in the series.
They
with
can
it.
take as much time as they want on Ro. I will take all of it. So Riker leaves, and then Ro says she's by herself with Picard, and she just goes, I don't believe this. I'm dead. You can't even hear me, and I'm still intimidated by you. So then she also, like, Picard obviously can't hear her, but she thanks him for trusting her when no one else would. And then Geordi busts in the room, and he goes, but he has to say, excuse me, Captain, even though Picard obviously can't hear him,
Yeah, I
which I
love
thought
that.
was a very funny touch.
Yeah.
And Geordi's like, listen, we got to get to the Romulan ship. If we're dead, this doesn't make any difference. Because she's like, what are we doing any of this for if we're dead? And he's like, listen, if we are dead, this doesn't matter. But if we're not dead, this like actually would be important.
Yeah.
So, also, it's actually very funny with this. Every time Geordi and Ro have like a conversation when they're like in their ghost form or ghost mode, they talk very close to each other. They're
Yeah.
very much in each other's faces.
Yep.
I feel like
it's very random.
I feel like that's kind of a TNG thing in general, that people
Yes.
talk very
close talkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they just didn't have enough wide lenses, so
Listen, I would
It's the sets.
listen, I'd believe that. With TNG, I would truly believe that at this point. So there's something oh yeah, okay, I also noted there's something really kind of funny about the actors pretending that like other actors are not there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can still feel it. Like
Yeah.
when Dr. C and Picard were having their scene and Ro was in there, like it kind of felt like Dr. C kind of like the actor Gates McFadden could kind of
Yeah.
like knew that they were there and just was like
Yes.
pretending, like, which obviously is acting, but like you could still feel it. And I think Patrick Stewart did the same thing here, where like he's just trying so hard to pretend that she's not there,
Yeah.
and like ignoring her, that it's kind of obvious that he like, as like the actor knows that she's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found that kind of funny.
I'm
yeah, so
sure
let's-
Patrick Stewart stood up afterwards and went over to Michelle Forbes and was just like, good scene together. Good scene.
Yeah. Okay, so then so Geordi and Ro get onto the shuttle that with Data and Worf. And Data asks Worf for suggestions of what kind of service they should have for Geordi and Ro. And I'm like, how many kinds of services are there for memorials? Like, to be fair, I have not been to a ton of memorials. I've been to funerals, but I've never been. I don't think I've ever been to like a memorial.
They're actually pretty different from culture to culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know because we don't really do memorials, so like we have our own shit, but like yeah, I just was like, okay, in terms of a memorial, like what are the options? What are they gonna do? So Worf then explains that the human one is a bummer where people praise the dead, and the Bajorans do a 2-hour death chant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's something that
maybe-
will never be referenced again, and they definitely
yeah, so
retcon it.
neither are really the vibe. So Data says, oh god, this is like very sad. God, Data. Data says, I never knew what a friend was until I met Geordi. He spoke to me as though I were human. He treated me no differently from anyone else. He accepted me for what I am, and that I learned is friendship. But I do not know how to say goodbye. I was like, oh, Data.
Honestly, I want to give this episode props now before we even get to the other stuff. But this episode manages to do the Geordi Data dynamic without them actually interacting with each other, and that's
Yeah.
really impressive.
Yeah.
That is some good writing and some really good acting from the two of them. They did fantastic.
Yeah. So then Worf tells Data that he's actually not the proper person to advise him on this stuff, because Worf is actually very happy for Geordi, as Geordi died in the line of duty, so it is an honorable death.
Yeah,
And
Geordi
he's
went
like-
to Stovacor. Oh wait.
So, yeah, cool. So on the Romulan ship, all systems were damaged to some degree, and the chronotons are from the cloaking device. They should, what the fuck did I write? They should clear input as they, what? They should clear shit out as like they don't know what they're gonna react to the new engine core. So like just clear the chronotons out.
Yeah, you know.
So
Oh
then-
yeah. They should clean up the chronotons before they engage warp or whatever.
Okay. But before, so like when they were talking about this show, the first shot of this scene, there was a Romulan sitting in the captain's chair. And I
Yeah.
was like, is that guy dead? We're just having a dead guy sitting in the seat.
I mean, he does look like a vampire.
And then
Yeah.
he blinks. And I like, then they do like another shot. And then I was like, oh, he blinked. He's alive. What the fuck is he doing just sitting there?
Yeah.
And then Geordi says, okay, this is now a lot of exposition. I literally just wrote down what Geordi said. So Geordi says, I've never seen anything like this. There's something in here that looks like a molecular phase inverter. It's supposed to change the structure of matter so it can pass through normal matter and energy. A few years back, we got intelligence reports that the Klingons were working on trying to combine a phaser inverter and a cloaking device. In theory, they believed that a phased ship could hide anywhere, even inside a planet, and that even conventional weapons would be useless against them. Never got out of the preliminary stages. There was tests. People died. But the Romulans might be trying to do this now, combine the phase inverter and cloaking, which would explain the explosion and what happened to Ro and Geordi. There's probably a way to reverse this. So the Romulans, their secret plan is they are working on an interphase generator, and so then we hear what's his name, Morik, and the female, Mirok. The science up Mirok and what's her face, the female Romulan. Then they like literally talk about their secret plan like 3 feet from like some of the other Enterprise crew, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are doing bad at your secret plan.
Yeah.
So
You guys are bad planners, yes.
yeah.
To be fair, that's a TV problem in general, where it's
Yes.
like
yes.
like they can very clearly hear you. You're only like 2 feet away, but in the universe of the show, they don't actually hear them.
So basically their plan is that while the power transfer beam is still at full intensity, like says the Enterprise is, sending power to the Romulan ship. So while that transfer beam is going at full intensity, they will set up a muon, whatever, feedback wave inside the transfer beam going the other way. The particles will accumulate in the Enterprise's dilithium chamber, and when they go to warp speed, the engine will explode. Great. So then so then we see the guy that I thought was dead is actually not dead, and he is actually phased also. And then I wrote, lol, Geordi and Ro standing behind. Oh, no. Geordi and Ro are listening to Mirok and them talking about the plan. And then in the background, so like their faces are literally between them. And I wrote, oh, look at them standing between them. They've got their surprised Pikachu faces on. So yeah, and the rest of the crew is like 3 feet away. So like, great job. So yeah. Oh, also then I wrote, gasp, that guy is also in ghost mode. So yeah. So then that, but
Ghost mode.
I keep calling them Joe. I want to call them Joe. Listen, Joe, that's what I'm going to call them now. It's just Joe for now. Geordi and Ro. So the ghost mode. I keep wanting to write Ghost Protocol, like from that Mission Impossible movie, but I've also never seen it. But maybe because we actually don't know this guy's name, and I couldn't think of a good nickname for him. So maybe I'll just call him
Ghost Protocol.
Maybe I'll call him Tom Cruise.
Ugh.
I'll call him Tom. We'll call him Tom.
Okay.
Because Ghost Protocol is Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise
the
is
Rom.
in those movies. I actually at one point did refer to him as Rom because I was like, I don't know. I don't want to write Romulan 55,000 times and I couldn't think of a good nickname. So I just wrote Rom.
Wait.
Should I just call him the
Tomulin.
Royal Ontario Museum?
No, Tomulin. His name is Tomulin.
No, I want a nickname so I don't have to say Romulan every 5 seconds.
Oh, you're no
Yeah.
fun.
Also, Rom is the name of a Ferengi in DS9.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we'll stick with Tom. We're going to call him Tom. Okay. So Tom follows Joe back to the Enterprise. Data sees that the chronoton field has formed, and I was like, okay, well, it's got to be where like Geordi and Ro went. It's like obviously it's got to be like a trail. I wrote like they should try to write something with their movements because like they're tracking it, right? So like,
Yeah.
would they be able to see like a message? Like I feel like Data of all people would like pick up on a message, but they don't do that. Okay, the field grows from path to path, but they're not at their present location because like Geordi is in engineering with Data, and Geordi's trying to. Okay, Geordi to me is the fucking funniest in this because he tries so hard. He knows logically, even if he says it 50 billion times, no one notices he's there, and yet he keeps saying, "Data, I'm here. Data, look at me, Data," and I'm like, Geordi, he doesn't see you. He
Yeah.
can't hear you, no matter how many times you call for him to see you. Geordi.
But he wants him to.
I know. But man, Geordi truly, God, I love Geordi. And he just kept saying, it's me. And I'm like, Geordi, that doesn't help. He still can't hear you no matter how many times you like say it's you.
Yeah.
Because Data has this machine and he's following around, but like Geordi stands right in front and it doesn't react to Geordi, but it reacts to his path
Yeah.
where he was previously. So, okay, so Tom is on the ship and he reveals himself to Ro and asks where Geordi is and says the gun is active. The displacer or something? I wrote it down
Disruptor.
somewhere later. Disruptor is active because the weapon was on him when he changed or I guess when he phased, and asks about a plan to change back. So it's like, okay, so he's either like really bad and wants to stop them from like trying to like help to like reverse so they can like stop this plan, or he's like, I need your help to turn back because I don't know, because like I'm also in this shitty situation, but we
Yeah.
will never find out.
Yeah. Because here's the thing is, like, if he wants to, like, get back to normal, why is he threatening the only people that could potentially help him do that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a desperate people situation, but that's also still a very dumb move.
Because he's fiercely distrustful, and he does not want to. He believes that the barrel of the gun is the only solution that he has.
Yeah, so like his motivations are truly, we never know.
Yeah.
So Data then accidentally hits Geordi in the hand with the Anion gun, or the Anion beam, and it partially like dephases him. So like the molecules in his hand, so like when he touches the thing, it like the panel, it like takes more effort for him to push his hand through.
Yeah.
So Geordi realizes that like if the low level beam can like, you know, make his hand like slow down for being able to pass through things, maybe like a higher level beam will like bring him back. And
Yeah.
so Geordi then has to find a way to get Data to turn up the intensity of the beam. So Ro is leading Tom down the hall, and she's like, oh, you know, Geordi's in here. She goes through the wall. Tom follows, and Ro just like nails him in the stomach and like knocks him down, and then she just like makes a run for it. It's amazing. So Brosmer lets Data know that she's detected a large chronoton field on deck 17. That's like the field strength is 300% like stronger than others. And so so Ro and Tom are now running through people's rooms. So they run through a blonde lady in a towel. I thought like that was the only room they were going to run through, and I was like, why would they run through this? This is weird. But then they also run through a guy doing push-ups, and I'm like, wow, you can do push-ups? How nice for you. And then they run to a couple who this woman is feeding a man dinner or food or something.
They're like having a date or whatever.
Yeah. So also the guy kind of looked like Brett Spiner.
Oh yeah.
Like from the side for a second. I was like, oh, it kind of looks like it. So then Tom then like nails Ro in the leg with the gun, and then Tom holds like the phaser to her, and Data and Geordi, like they track the field to that room. So then like door opens, Geordi runs over to Ro and pushes Tom off her. But then he like goes through the wall of the Enterprise out into space, and then you see through the window he's just like floating away. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
That got like real fucked real fast. Like, yeah, he was putting a gun to Ro, and that's like bad, right to jail. But like, oh wow, just watching that guy like float away, and he was kind of like flipping a bit.
Yeah.
And normally I'm a big fan of people doing flips. I love to say like, do a flip, but this was upsetting.
Yep. He's just
So
dead, floating in the vacuum of space, never to be found, by the way, because he's like cloaked.
yeah, that's really kind of like morbid.
Yeah.
And also, so that was like the bit that made me like realize like none of this makes sense. There are rules of how much you can go through stuff, because they literally just like went, like, I would have assumed the Enterprise walls are probably pretty thick.
Yeah.
So the fact that he just like plowed through the wall that easy like that, well, bye, I guess. So yeah, so back on the Romulan ship, Mirok is like, okay, I guess we're good to like switch to internal power. Thanks, Enterprise. Now go die. Bye. Thanks for your help. And Picard's like, hopefully this cooperation won't be a one-time thing. And Mirok is like, oh, definitely. Oh, for sure. We definitely want to make it more than a one-time thing. And I was like, does this mean because he wants to just like hook up with other Starfleet ships and try to make them explode?
I think it was just a lie.
Yeah. So then Picard's like, all right, warp 6. But Brosmer's like, oh, wait, literally fucking saves everybody's fucking life.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even know. And she's like, oh, actually, we're like not done with the like, we're still running the decontamination program. So like Data is like, oh, we probably shouldn't warp until like the chronoton fields are cleared out. So like, Jesus, Brosmer high key saves the day and doesn't even know. Mm-hmm. So I mean, good for her, I guess. So then Geordi and Ro realize like if they can get to the locations that Brosmer is decontaminating, maybe the anion emissions would rephase them enough for someone to see them. So like the beam's strength would have to be pretty strong in order for them to be visible for more than a millisecond. So they should go somewhere where like there's a lot of people, so it's a better chance someone will see them. So I was like, oh, they're gonna go crash their own memorial. They were just like, let's go to 10 forward. I was like, okay, so we're on kind of different pages of where like they're going to the same place but like I don't think they thought about their memorial. So then they
did
up,
because they mentioned it, that it's their memorial in 10 forward.
Well, like, yeah, but like no, we know this, but I don't think they realized that their memorial was in 10 forward because it wasn't until they got there and they're like, oh, it's our shit.
They heard them talking about it.
But the way that like this scene shows, it makes it seem like they like didn't realize their memorial was in 10 forward.
No, I think they fully
they
knew.
seem almost, because they seem surprised when they go in there.
No, they're surprised at what kind of memorial it is. That it's like a party instead of like this like solemn thing.
Oh, well, okay. Okay, so I did write like that is some real ghost shit though, that they're gonna crash their own memorial.
Yeah.
So Geordi's like, listen, we should make the rounds in 10 forward so they can leave a bigger trail. So they'll need a stronger beam, which will allow them to be seen better. So Picard reminisces then, I think he tells Riker, I think so, maybe, when he first met Geordi. And this is like very cute. So apparently he first met Geordi when Geordi was a young officer assigned to pilot Picard on an inspection tour. And Picard made some kind of offhand remark about the shuttle's engine efficiency not being what it should. And the next morning, Picard found out that like Geordi stayed up all night refitting the fusion initiators. And he knew then he wanted Geordi with him on his next command, which is like very sweet, but also like that doesn't that kind of seems a little like, I can't really picture Picard being like, these engines aren't what they used to be, these pieces of shit. And Geordi being like, oh, well, that's definitely my fault. I will fix it. When like that to me would never be Geordi's fault. Like, so, yeah, but it is nice that he was like, well, he knew Geordi's a hard worker and fixed this shit without being asked. So he wanted him as next command. So that's nice. So Riker then... He's like, yep, I know what I'm going to say about Ro, but it wasn't easy. And Ro goes, what? What wasn't easy? What? And so, oh yeah, because like they're in the lift.
Yeah.
So then they enter the room and like there's like a Dixieland band playing and there's like balloons. And Geordi kind of loves this, but Ro is like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
They're like, listen, people are like having fun. I'm like, I feel like people forgot this maybe was a memorial because it doesn't seem like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like this is like, I get what they were kind of going for, but it also like doesn't feel like the vibe. I don't know. It's it's weird.
There are some memorials that are like that where it's like,
yeah, and that's fine. But to me, like, especially like, it feels like this is just very like Geordi in a way. It feels like nothing is thought of for Ro.
Yeah.
Which bothers me a bit, but listen. It doesn't matter in the big picture, but still. So okay, Ro was walking around 10 forward shooting the disruptor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just like that she's just like shooting around the ceiling, random places, and then we so the band is playing and then Riker, listen, this was for me. This wasn't for anybody else. This was for me. He goes up on the stage and just the return of the bone.
Yeah.
And he just starts playing and I like, this isn't for Jordy. This isn't for Ro. This is clearly for me.
Yeah.
I like how the sound starts on the trombone before he actually puts his lips to it.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I have no complaints
And
for
he's
this.
like,
I love it.
Like, he's still just getting his, like, slide loosened up or whatever. And,
Yep.
and it's like, they act as if he's already playing.
I love it. I don't care. Any
Oh, no,
excuse for him to play, I'm happy about. So
I'm not
then
complaining. I'm just pointing out, like, it is very funny.
So Riker's playing, and then Ro goes right up to him, and she's like, "Now I suppose I'll never know what you were going to say about me." And then she shoots a beam through his head, which I loved. So Brosmer lets Data know that like all the areas are clear except for there's like a huge field in 10 forward, and Brosmer used the emission beam, but like it doesn't really work. So Ro and Geordi are like, "Okay, we need to like." Oh, yeah, okay, so they like, it doesn't really work. They're still invisible. So then there's an incoming message from Gradius 4. The diplomatic situation is deteriorating and wants to know the ship's ETA. So Rose suggests that they like basically overload the disruptor, so it like explodes. So they set it up, it explodes. The of course nobody gets hurt because like nobody knows what's happening. So the Chronton field strength, it like increases by 3,000%. So Data says like, "Oh, we got to decontaminate the room at really high, at like the highest levels." So Geordi and Ro appear for like a moment right beside Picard and Data, and like they look at them and they're like, "What? Wait." And then Data kind of puts it all together that the anions neutralize the cloaking effect, and Data asks Brosmer to set the beam at the absolute highest level and flood 10 forward. It works so well that Riker stops playing the bone.
Yeah.
And Geordi is like, immediately is just like, "Take warp engines offline until further notice." The muon wave is building inside the dilithium chamber, and then McDowell just goes, "Captain, who gave that order?"
Yeah. Which, honestly, fair.
That was so funny.
agreed.
Yeah.
But then Picard acts incredulous about it. He was like, "That was Chief Engineer Geordi LaForge." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm sorry, but like that's a pretty reasonable thing to do." Be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I thought that was so funny.
your dead boss just gave you an order, apparently. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so then Geordi, so like, "Yay, it's saved." And Geordi's like, "Cool party. Mind if we join?" And then, but the funniest thing, like, well, honestly, okay, I like this episode, but there's like so many like little details that made me laugh. So when everyone's like, "Oh my God, Geordi and Ro are alive," there are so many background actors who just like look like they don't care. Like, no, people aren't smiling. They just look like they have no idea what's going on. They look bored. They're just like, wow, did nobody direct them or
Yeah.
anything? Because they look like they just don't care that they're at a memorial service for people who are actually alive. Like, there's no reaction. It was kind of amazing. And so we learned they were like that for fucking 2 days.
wow.
So, okay, so then the last scene, I actually really like this. So it's Geordi and Ro, like it's the party's like done, and Geordi is just eating, which is fine. And that's how we learn they've been like in this state for like almost 2 days. So they haven't eaten, and Geordi is like crazy hungry. So Ro looks bummed, and he's like, and Geordi's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And I just wrote, "Ro wanted to know what Riker was going to say about her." But she was like, "Oh no, this made me like reassess what I like believed about the afterlife." Because in the Bajoran, she learned certain things in the Bajoran culture of what the afterlife is, and now she's like, "I don't know, I feel like I was arrogant before of like my idea of shit, but now like I don't even know what to believe because now we went through all this." So Geordi says, "Maybe we should develop our own interphase device. If I can if it can teach Ro Laren humility, it can do anything."
Oh,
And-
snap.
Yeah, I love this. And then my last note I wrote was like, I hope they have more episodes together. They were actually a very fun duo. Mm-hmm. I feel like Geordi just kind of like is like a good like scene partner with like basically everybody.
Yeah.
he's a great character, and he does a really good job of interacting with other people, but also driving the sci-fi part of the story, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's so enthusiastic about things, and I really enjoy that about him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
to me, Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say LeVar Burton does a really good job of like, you know, being like a really fun, enthusiastic character, and like dealing with all the tech and technobabble shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Oh yes.
He's like a humanizing nerd.
Yeah.
He's just very,
it's like because it feels like the character like actually knows what he's talking about. Like he's saying all this bullshit, but he's like, well, he seems confident about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Where it's like a lot of, I think, to Voyager, because Voyager was like pretty infamous for its technobabble.
Oh yes.
And those characters are like, it's clear they're just saying words.
Yes.
Where it's like, it seems like Geordi actually like is saying something that exists, even if it doesn't actually.
It just means the dialogue's written better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think
LeVar
also-
Burton's just, I think he's good at delivering that stuff.
Yeah, he is.
It's his enthusiasm. Like, he gets
Yeah.
excited over it, right? So you believe he does actually know what he's talking about, and he's excited and he cares about it.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think that's the thing, is showing that he actually cares, because
Yeah. Because he
the
does...
enthusiasm makes the difference.
Yeah, because he sounds like a nerd rattling off shit that he's passionate about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what's really impressive about it is how like successfully LeVar Burton manages to deliver all this dialogue, despite the fact that you can't see his eyes.
Yeah.
Like his personality comes through so strong despite that, and that's hard to do. That's something that LeVar Burton was actually concerned about when he first took the role.
Yeah.
He does an amazing job. Like, this
Oh,
was
yes.
honestly, I love when, like, Geordi gets time to shine when it's not about, like, him trying to fuck a woman.
Yeah.
So, like, this to me is like a absolutely ideal Geordi story where he gets to, like,
Yeah.
I think it's like, you know what, when he teams up with somebody else, because I loved when him and Data would do stuff together. I love this, like, he teams up with Ro, and it's just purely, it's not about they're trying to accomplish a task, but you can, I like that, like, it seems like Ro is kind of like, to me, she's very she's not like the friendliest of people.
Yeah.
And it seems like she kind of keeps to herself for the most part.
Yes.
But I like that, like, her enthusiasm though, with like when she sees Geordi, and like she doesn't like shrink away from him. Like, it feels like also Geordi as a character is just someone who's like universally liked, and he's just friendly and like doesn't have any kind of like, you know, chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he just, and so like the fact that like Ro would just immediately, like, because we don't see them interact before this really.
Yeah.
So
really,
like
no.
the fact that Ro immediately was like, okay, Geordi, and like not just like, okay, because they don't have to deal with this like alone, but like they got along and like worked together super, super well.
Yeah.
And like, because even if you had different personality types, like you still could have like been butting heads or something, but the fact that Geordi is just such a, you know, like dynamic, just like just seems like a general like good guy who, like, I feel like always like makes a point to like be friendly and like personable to everybody,
Yeah.
that like that Ro would feel comfortable.
Because even if Geordi doesn't like you, he's not gonna let that get in the way if you guys are trying to accomplish something. So it's like even
Yeah.
even if he like doesn't like Ro and is like, oh, I'd rather spend my time with someone else or whatever, he's like, we have something to accomplish, and like, you know, there's no time for that right now. Like,
Yeah. But for me, the fact that Ro, like, immediately, like, even though, you know, it seemed like Ro felt comfortable with him. And then even after this, she still was, like, opened up with Geordi.
Yeah.
Saying, like, you know, this has sort of changed her views on stuff. And to me, I found that to be really, really nice, because I think
Yeah.
we're still starting to see, like, so far, other than Picard, the only person Ro has really kind of quote unquote like connected with was Riker, and that is still kind of a dicey situation
Yeah.
in my opinion. And that's very like her and Riker still are very like hit or miss, but like honestly though, I'm dying to know what he would have said about her
Yeah.
too. I want to know. So the idea that like Ro is like maybe like, you know, make, because like she talked with Troy, which I love, and the idea that like she's branching out and maybe is like developing a friendship now with Geordi, I love that too. It's like Ro's been through a lot and deserves to have some nice things and some people on her side.
Yeah.
Because I think so many times people have been against her and she hasn't like, and she knows that like she's had to do shit on her own for so fucking long and's had no one to be able to rely on, that I think also in this sort of situation where like she really had to rely on Geordi shows like a huge amount of vulnerability and that like trust, because this is something that like she probably would not have been able to figure out on her own because of all the sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
So like the fact that she just was like very on board with like, you know, having discussions with Geordi and letting him take the lead for some shit, and they were just pretty much in sync the whole time. I really liked this. Like I liked this episode in general.
Yeah,
This was just
me too.
This was a really fun episode, and I just like the two characters who I am big fans of got shit to do, and it was about them getting shit done. And I also liked that like Ro had time where when Tom was running after her and she like was able to, you know, fight back and get away. And
I'm just really disappointed that they did not include a scene in which Geordi tried to show Data that this is me by peeing his name in the snow.
oh, because there's an abundance of snow.
Yeah.
No, I mean seriously, because like the what do you call it? Whenever he touched something, it would leave a mark. He could have just spelled out a message.
Yeah, Dory was saying that earlier.
Oh.
But like,
Yeah,
why didn't he pee his name? That would have done it. And it's the perfect opportunity because that pee is just going to go right through the ship and like phase into oblivion, and you will never have to worry about it again.
Sure.
But then he could also just be like, why did somebody pee Geordi on the floor?
Well, yeah, but clearly he would realize that there's a problem. There's something I need to research more.
Why does it have to be pee?
Why not?
I mean, a lot of reasons.
I can't think of a
gross.
single one. The pee is going to go into nothingness, and they'll never have to worry about cleaning it up.
But then but by the time they
does Geordi need to pee? Does he have enough pee to accomplish that?
Well, I don't know. Why didn't somebody ask him?
Oh my god, you know what I did just think of? Okay.
Yeah.
If Geordi and Ro have been like this for almost 2 days, they absolutely would have had to go to the washroom at some point.
Yeah.
Would they have had to wait for someone else to like open a door for them to get into a bathroom?
Probably.
Or would they
Yeah.
have just had to like go in a corner or something and just hope for the best? Because they can't like touch anything. They can't like open doors. Would they have fallen through the toilet?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, I'm asking the big questions here.
Well, they could squat, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, but would it
Would
matter if them going
Actually,
okay? I
go-
think I'm getting too like specific on this, but
Actually, back to Jeff's point too, because he was like, would
it just disappear?
Would their pee just go through the Enterprise?
and their
No,
bodily functions just floating outside the Enterprise,
yeah, no,
out into space, like with Tom.
here's the thing, that the floor is apparently phase proof, which means
Yeah.
that their bodily fluids might just pile up on the floor.
Oh God.
Yeah. Imagine,
like-
okay.
Oh,
Imagine
God.
if someone phased, like just took a shit in the corner, and then they unfazed, but no one ever bothered to go unfaze the shit, so that there would just be forever a shit laying in the corner that
would
no
it
one
start to
ever
smell?
knew. I don't think so, because
I don't know how this works. Would smell be affected in like this state?
yeah, because smell is it's particles of things.
Okay.
So-
then no one that
So the particles would be phased, so you wouldn't smell the particles.
Okay, so it'd just be the secret shit of the Enterprise.
Yeah. It would just be the secret shit in the corner for all eternity.
Oh god. That's terrible. Oh my god.
That's
yeah, this
me in
would
the
truly
corner, being shit forever.
It's also though, like, I kind of think this is a cool concept though of like the phaser and cloaking device. Like I mean, but that in the wrong hands would be very bad.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, this was, it's definitely like a dangerous thing to have. Which, like, here's the thing. Like, on one hand, yeah, it's cool and like, yeah, it would be helpful maybe for like the Enterprise, but at the same time, there's so many bad people in Starfleet that I
Yeah.
feel like don't develop this technology
Yeah.
because, like, you know, there's so many corrupt admirals. Like, someone would definitely get their hands on it and use it for evil. So, like,
Yeah.
Oh, Dory.
100%.
don't
Dory.
do it.
Please remember that you said that.
Oh, because I'm right? Because there's
No,
more
I'm not going
evil
to tell
admirals?
you why. Just please remember that you said that specifically about this technology.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Ooh. Oh, well, then also the Romulans already technically have this, but I guess they haven't figured out a way to, like, bring them back.
Well, that's the point.
So,
They failed
yeah.
at it.
Yeah. Well, they failed in one direction, but not in both directions.
Yeah.
So, well, I wonder, like, I don't remember, like, does Picard, do they at the end, are they like, hey, go get this, like, Romulan ship? They've got some shit on it? I don't remember.
Neither
Do they
do
tell
I.
anybody? Because I feel like that ship's now got to be, like, you know,
So here's the thing. They don't know what the result of their technology is in the end because they never got any of this info from their officer who's gone.
Yeah.
Or
Tom.
from Geordi or Ro, because
Oh.
they already
they had
they've
left.
already they're already gone.
yeah. Well, this technology, though it's like a very cool idea, yeah, I feel like it's only going to be used for evil.
Yeah.
So there's some things we don't need it. It's there's a reason why you can't have nice things. So yeah, this was like, honestly, really liked this episode. It was cool. I like the idea. I like that they did teamwork to figure it out. I like that Data, honestly, I think like Ro actually says it when they're in the shuttle, when they're going with Worf. She's like, wow, like when after Data says his little speech about Geordi, and then she's like, wow, he almost sounds human. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Data. Oh, Data. Data, I find these days is like the one who's saying like the most like profound shit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, Data. Oh, God. Data's wonderful. I
Yeah.
love Data.
Yeah. No, I love this episode. Like I always watch this one. Just cuz like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, me too.
It's just like a fun episode.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's like a lot of like issues with it, and especially like like practical issues where
Logistics,
yeah,
yeah.
logistics. But it's like the episode is like entertaining enough that I don't really care. I'm like I definitely like get annoyed by like certain things, but it's like it's not enough for me to like interfere with the enjoyment, like my enjoyment
Also,
of it.
everything regarding the Bajorans that she says about this in this episode is completely retconned, like it's forgotten.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was funny like when they were talking about like what kind of memorial to have, and Data's like, oh, like, but because Worf says like, oh, the human custom is to do this, and then Data's
Yep.
like, oh, well, you know, like Ro is Bajoran, so like her beliefs should be represented too, but their rituals are like quite complicated, and then
Yep.
Ro's just like, ugh, not the death chant. And Worf is just like, yeah, the death chant is like 2 hours long. I just thought that was funny.
It was
Also,
funny.
the one of the things that does annoy me though is like, this is kind of like a Star Trek problem in general, where they treat, like, not only do they have an issue of treating alien cultures as just like the whole culture is just one thing, but they treat human culture like that, where it's like Worf is like, well, the human custom is to have like this solemn memorial and whatever, when it's like there are so many different like human customs, like like you can't just say like one thing is the human custom, because there's so many different cultures and there's so many different ways that cultures do things, like to memorialize like their dead and stuff. So that's the one thing where I'm like, yeah, you can't really say like that this is the human custom, because there's like 50 billion different customs.
I was actually having an interesting discussion with somebody just the other day. So he grew up in Shanghai, and he told me about the major difference that he notices here in Canada around cemeteries specifically, where here quite often cemeteries are built as like parks that people can like walk in and explore, and they're publicly accessible. And I mean, he's not going in there and seeing like, big picnics or anything like that.
Yeah,
but there's
yeah.
people who just go in through a stroll and whatnot. And apparently where he comes from, that would never even be remotely considered. That it's just like a big no.
Oh, to like walk through it?
Well, to have like a park set up for it like that, that just... Like, this is a completely somber place that should have absolutely nobody enjoying themselves. Is the way
So
that he
nothing
looks
like
at
the ironically named Mount Pleasant?
it. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a park here in Toronto called Mount Pleasant, which is a cemetery.
Yeah.
A very large one, actually. And it's actually quite a nice park. It's beautiful to walk through.
Yeah.
But yes, funny name.
Yeah, cause like you said, like cemeteries that like here, they like people aren't having like picnics and a good time or whatever, but they are supposed to be like just like peaceful like places that like, are accessible to the public, and sometimes there are people that go there just because they're nice quiet places and it's very peaceful.
That's right.
But yeah, I can see that being like, no, this is like a serious place. Like you can't just like wander through here. Yeah.
So yeah, quite a difference there. On an unrelated note, this episode was supposed to be a bottle show, and actually, since we're on the topic of death, rip to that idea. It was not a bottle show. It ended up being one of the most expensive of the season because of all of the green screen stuff they had to do.
Yeah, because of all the phasing and shit, and like,
That's right.
And not to mention that like they had to make the Romulan set and all that stuff.
That's right.
And all the
That's right.
makeup and extras. Like there are a lot of extras in this episode.
Yes, there are. There are.
It looked good though. Like this,
Oh,
like
yeah.
their phasing looked good. And actually, in my opinion, I think when Geordi was putting his hand through the panel after he got hit with the beam, the like kind of like not slow motion, but he's trying to like push
Like
his
where it
hand
was a
through.
bit
That
harder.
looked good.
Yeah, it definitely
yeah,
did.
that looked
Yes, it
actually
did.
very good.
Now, something to keep in mind about that effect is that some of these things have been, all of these things have been remastered. So, may not have looked quite that good in SD, but I don't know. I don't have the SD copies for comparison easily accessible.
I think it still would have looked good. Like maybe the visual effect wouldn't have looked good, but the motion still would have.
Yeah, the motion was great.
Because like what I think they probably did is they had LeVar Burton pressing against something to make it look like it was harder to like just like phase through.
I could see that.
Because like when they're just like casually phasing through stuff, I'm sure they just like, you have your what do you call? Shit, I don't remember what the different composite layers are called. But like, you just have the shot of the panel, and then you have your shot of the actor like pushing, like moving their hand or whatever, and like they're usually like just moving their hand freely, or moving whatever like freely to show that they can just move freely between like the walls and whatnot. So with that, what I imagine they would have done is they might have like had like let's say for an example, like just a really weak cardboard box or something, a small cardboard box that was like painted green or whatever, and then had LeVar Burton press against that and push into that, so that then when you composite it, you have this you have his motion looking like it's being resisted against, because it actually is. Like, so I think like whether the actual like compositing would have looked good, I don't know, but I think the actual motion, like looking like he's actually like it's actually resisting him, probably still looked good. Mm-hmm. That was my TED Talk.
I completely agree.
All right, time to move on to favorite moments and such.
I liked, basically, I mean, honestly, everything with Geordi and Ro was really great. I, of course, will now always want to know what Riker was going to say about Ro.
It honestly kind of frustrated me that they left that nugget hanging.
Yeah.
I'm not
Ro's
really sure what their
reactions.
plan around that was. But
Ro's
yeah.
reactions, though, to like Riker saying that he wanted to say something about her, she was like, "Me? But why?
Yeah.
What? I loved that.
I think
Geordi's
that-
reaction.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thing.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that like we as the audience, already know that like Riker like actually does think highly of Ro. Like
Yeah.
like they butt heads, but Ro actually thinks highly of her. Or sorry, Riker actually thinks highly of her. Mm-hmm. But maybe Ro doesn't realize that. So
That could be.
Yeah.
I think that's why maybe they left it unsaid, because like we as the audience can like already figure out what he was probably going to say, like how much like admiration he had for her.
Yeah, he was going to spend a few minutes complimenting her rack.
Yeah. Well, he's seen it,
Oh
so.
my God.
Exactly.
Jesus. I loved Geordi's reaction when Ro was like, "We're dead," and he's like, "But my uniform, my visor. Are you saying I'm some blind ghost with clothes?"
Yeah, that was great.
Jesus, Geordi, that. I loved Data talking about Geordi. His like, "I never knew what a friend was." That speech was really nice. I think I really liked that conversation with like Worf and Data in the shuttle. I loved Riker playing the bone.
Yeah,
You
that
would.
was funny.
You want to see Riker with a bone in his mouth. I'm very funny.
My God.
For me,
Oh,
it is definitely...
I have one more tiny thing. One more. Is I like when McDowell was like, "Captain, who gave that order?" After
Yeah.
Geordi was like, "Stop everything."
Is McDowell security or engineering?
Well, he was.
Oh, yeah.
He was at Worf's desk at the beginning.
Yeah, so why is he
So-
controlling the
I don't
ship?
know. I have no idea, but I found that funny.
They just needed another named character for one scene, two scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
something
they
like
weren't
that,
going to
yeah.
pay SAG rates for another guy, so may as well
That's
use
true,
the same
yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Okay. No, sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
Oh, so for me, it is definitely Geordi interacting with Data while Data cannot interact with Geordi.
Yeah,
I
that was
found
pretty
they
great.
still found a way to make that like kind of playful, but give Data some meaningful dialogue around the episode in which he isn't necessarily
Yeah.
interacting with Geordi, but he is speaking to him in a sense, in that he is speaking about him, and it's very much still about the two of them in scenes where they're together. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was extremely well done. But
Yeah.
also, Ro pouring her heart out to Picard while he has to ignore her. That was a good scene. I kind of wish it hadn't been interrupted and she had gotten another minute or two, but that's okay.
I thought it was,
Geordi coming saying, "Excuse me, Captain."
yeah,
Yes.
That was
I know what
pretty
you
funny.
mean, but like I thought it was really funny. She's having this like heart to heart with like the captain, and Geordi's just like, "Yo." Although on the
I'm
note,
here.
yeah. On the note of like that scene with Geordi and Data, where Geordi's like, "Come on, fucking figure it out, man." Brent Spiner is the only person that I believe didn't see Geordi.
Yes. I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
definitely.
Data's the only character that I'm like, oh, they cannot see him or
Yeah,
hear
but
him.
he's not ignoring him. He
Yeah.
just, he
Brent
really
Spiner
can't
is
see
just
him.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him.
That was pretty great. Yeah.
What are my favorite moments? Because like, there's so much good stuff in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
What's my favorite? Jeez, I don't know. I like all the stuff with Data where he's like, you know, they're talking about like the memorial service and what would be like appropriate and stuff like that. And I, you know, as different as the attitude is, I do like Worf's attitude about it. He's like, I'm happy for them. Like they died like the best way they could, and it's like I'm looking for the bright spot in this.
I like that Worf didn't push back. Like, he let Data, like, talk and give his, like, feelings. And Worf just was like, and so when Data asked, like, about, like, you know, service and customs, Worf was like, was not like, oh, yeah, no, fuck off, I don't know what to do with this. He gave his answers. He answered Data's questions very calmly and, like, rationally. Like, at one point he was like, I'm maybe not the best person, but that was like after he still answered Data's questions.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like that scene with them, is like,
Yeah. And
Worf
that
can be very reactionary, but
Yeah.
not in this. This was like very, very nice. There's somewhere like I feel like Data has somewhere have like like Worf's got some kind of soft spot for Data or something, because he doesn't
Yeah.
tend to like. Yeah, I feel like he listens to Data more.
Yeah. Well, I think they can understand each other on a level of, like, being direct with each other.
Yeah.
And is, like, I think Worf... I think Worf, like, never tries to, like, what do you call it? Like save Data's feelings or whatever, because, like, everyone, like, still deals with Data, like, on this level of, like, you know, as a human, which is, like, perfectly fair and fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Where it's like they try to take his feelings into account, which is good. But Worf, like, not that he's not trying to take his feelings into account, but I think Worf is one of the few people that has internalized that, like, you can just be direct with Data and it's fine. Mm-hmm. You know,
because Data prefers the directness, though, too.
Yeah, because Data, like, sometimes he just needs shit spelt out for him. And Worf is also a pretty direct person, so I feel like they kind of get along on that level. Like, Worf appreciates that he can just be direct with Data and that sort of thing. And also, like, Worf is very, like, rigid and... you know, kind of strict about his, like, traditions and stuff, but only towards, like, other Klingons and towards himself. He doesn't put those expectations onto, like, other people, other than other Klingons, which is, like, not great, but, like, he has this understanding. He does have some understanding that, like, what's right for me isn't necessarily right for you.
Yeah.
So, I think, like, getting back to your point of, like, how, you know, Worf just lets Data talk and, like, ask his questions and whatnot and stuff. He's not like, oh, you should do it this way, or, like, oh, I don't, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think there's a lot, like, I think it's, like, a generally, like, kind of fun episode. It's nice to see them do some shenanigans. It's, like, there's some nice character stuff, like some heartfelt stuff, so solid episode all around, I'd say.
Yep, I agree.
Alright, so time for predictions for the next episode. The next episode is called The Inner Light, and I'm going to use the Netflix description for this one. Picard awakens to find himself in a village where he is a well-known member of the community, suffering from a delusion of being a starship captain.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, it was all a dream. Oh, okay. Okay, the quick answer is the Romulans fucking get him, and because they've got the like, you know, don't they have a thing where they can like pretend that you're seeing some other shit? Maybe they're trying to like, they got Picard for something and they're trying to like get him for information, and I think that he's like Romulan holodeck.
All right. Nice.
Yeah, and if they can just like convince Picard, they can like get him to stop, like maybe that if they can get him to believe the story, then he will give like more information about Starfleet or the Enterprise or whatever. Yeah, maybe Sela is behind this.
All right.
I don't know. I feel like
All right, cool. Well, if you want to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.